Not near mine. Come on, get out of here. Check. You ready now? Evening. We back again. It's Tuesday. Rocking, rolling, getting it done. Creative financing with JB. We talking about something new this week. We bringing in a little more twist to what we do. We talk about finances all the time. We talk about saving your money. We talk about doing stuff that's going to help you financially. We have different episodes about how people really deal with situations when they face with purchasing homes, investing and all that. This time I'm going to get down to the brass roots of what it is. I got my main man right next to me, Dr. Howel. But we're going to talk about, this is all based on one big thing. And everybody's probably saying, what you talking about? I'm talking about relationships. It's how we have relationships in our business, personal, professional life, is how this thing changes, what happens with it, how do we understand why this person deals with me, or how do I get it done? So I'm just going to open up real quickly, let Dr. Howel explain a little bit about herself, and then we're going to throw some questions at him. We're going to hit them. You're going to see some questions come up here, Dr. Howel, on the screen. I don't want you to get scared of something, but the folks really want to know what's happening. But Dr. Howel, go ahead and let them know how you started this, how you got in this game, and all of that good stuff.
Oh, man, that's a mouthful. How I started this, I've been married for 33 years. 32 years, and a lot of them have been good, but a lot of them have been bumpy, and I did a lot of messing up and a lot of bumping my head against the wall. And so I had to find a way to kind of, all relationships get to the point where you have to make that decision. Are we going to continue with this, or are we going to go our separate ways? And a lot of times people go their separate ways. But if you love the person that you're with and you want to make it work, then what are the things that you need to do in order to make that relationship work? And so I started to do the research, and as I learned new things and as I found out new things, I started to apply them to my relationship. For example, the love language. One of the things that I did with my wife, I did an experiment with my wife. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Chapman and the love languages, but there are 5 basic love languages. And one of the ones that he talks about is words of affirmation. Now, another love language is acts of service. And so mine is affirmation. My wife's is acts of service. So for a whole week, I told my wife how much I loved what she was doing, and I appreciated what she was doing, knowing full well that that was not her love language. But I wanted to see what effect that was going to have on her. So she was like, yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah, I really loved the way you made my meal, and it was tasty. I enjoyed it. She was like, yeah, no problem. And then I said, oh, I like the way you drove home for me today because you knew I was tired. Yeah, no problem. I love the way you got my, picked my clothes for me and told me what colors you wanted me to wear that day. I really, yeah, no problem. And for a whole week, she was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, she was like a 6, 7. She was like, yeah, all right, no problem. And then for the next week, I said, oh, baby, by the way, you remember you wrote me a list? Okay, I did this on the list. I cleaned the car. I washed the car. I fixed the curtain. I did it. And she was like, oh, you did? Oh, my goodness. That is so awesome. That is great. That is beautiful. Oh, my goodness. Come here. Let me give you a kiss. I am so happy. And it was night and day. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 12. and so at the end of the day, I realized that Gary Chapman was onto something. Love languages is a main thing. It's a real thing. And so if you're finding that you're communicating with your partner or even in the business and you're not getting the responses that you want, it's because you're not speaking the language that they are fluent in. You speak in German, they know French. And that's basically what it boils down to. And Gary Chapman, he has done the love languages for married people. He's done love languages for kids. He's done love languages for business people. Because even in the business setting, you have a love language.
Right.
If your love language is acts of service, you want people to show you that they appreciate your hard work and appreciate everything you're doing by giving you acts of service. Give me a hookup. Do something for me. Lighten my load. If your love language is words of affirmation, pat me on the shoulder. Call me out in the meeting about how good I did. See, everybody don't want to be called out in a meeting. But if mine is words of affirmation, call me out in a meeting. Let everybody know I'm doing something good. If my love language is physical touch, pat somebody on their shoulder, high five, like do whatever. And I know people getting in trouble for touching on the job and stuff, but a handshake, a high five, a pat on the shoulder shouldn't be anything major that people should get upset about. And so you give people what they need and they will reciprocate it to you. And what I found out is a lot of times people communicate to others using their love language. So if I know German, I'm talking to you in German, but you only know French and you talking to me in French. We got a language barrier.
Right.
And part of emotional intelligence is learning what each other needs so that we can meet each other where we need to be met, so that in the workplace, outside the workplace, and at home, we can have proper relationships. Because relationships aren't just intimate. You have social, you have casual, and then you have family relationships. You have so many different types of relationships out there that you need to know the languages that people are talking. And so I did the research, and I did, like I said, start to implement it. And then I started to write stuff up, and then I started to coach people on how to get their relationships back on track. Because if I could get mine on track, chances are most people can get theirs back on track too. So I've been on this road now for 5 years, helping people out and getting quite a bit of success with it.
Wow. And that's interesting because, coming from the business standpoint, we never know how in the business form, how to even talk that love language and build that relationship. But and we think sometimes relationships is based on, I'm gonna help you out this time, you're gonna help me out, and we're gonna pass it on. But sometimes it becomes more than that in the business setting, where you probably can take some of that stuff, and you can interject here. You probably can take some of that studying that you do at home and incorporate it when you're doing business. Because what's one of the things that, man, I can't get no customers, and you figure out why. I mean, and can you tell us, when you see somebody, I'm coming to you, I open this business, I'm trying to build it, I'm like, Dr. Howel, I can't get customers. They think I'm cocky, they think I sound like a jerk, I'm corny. What do I do to engage them?
Listen, it's almost like the YouTube phenomena. You don't get paid in YouTube until you get the 1,000 subscribers. You don't get paid until you have enough watch time. A lot of people want something for nothing. If I don't know you and you come to me and you pitching a sales pitch to me, I know you're trying to get my money. I know you're trying to get my attention. You don't have a relationship with me yet, but you're trying to get my money. So people are automatically on the defense. And so business is all about relationships. And I've heard quite a few people say it this way: people don't buy what you're selling. They buy your conviction. So if you're only convicted about the money, they can spot you from a mile away. If all you are a dollar sign, they can spot you from a mile away. And so they don't want to be bothered with someone who doesn't want to put in the time. And let's talk about intimate relationship, and let's go back to business. A lot of times in relationships, we want to put in the least amount and get the most out. And then we take that and we transfer that over to the business setting. Think about that person that you don't want to see coming at the job, because they're always asking you for a favor. But when you ask them for a favor, they're always too busy. They don't have the time, or they don't have the resources. They never have anything for you. But they always give me. And so you have to look at it from that standpoint. Everything is about relationships. In business, people want to know that they can trust you. They can trust your product, that it's not going to be a one-time thing. Think about back in the day when you had those mechanics, when you went to the mechanic and it wasn't your mechanic and he hit you up with that large repair that one time. Whereas if you just charged you a smaller price, you would have been a customer for life. He wanted that one sale, but he didn't think about the long term. So it was more about the immediate sale versus the long-term customer. And so relationships is about that long term. How can I get repeat business? How can I take care of your needs? And in my relationship training, I say that we have to go from the transactional, where it's tit for tat or quid pro quo, to acts of service without expecting anything in return. And that's difficult. It's difficult because think about in your relationship, if you say to your partner, I love you, what do we expect? And I love you back.
Yeah.
So that's transactional. You did not say it out of the kindness of your heart. You said it because you wanted to get a specific reaction. Right. And that to me is a form of control. So I have to get to the point where I can say I love you, and it doesn't even matter if you don't love me back, because I still love you.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah. It's heavy and it's hard because it's hurtful. When you say I love you and you don't get that back, now you want to pull your love. And if you want to pull your love, that means you really didn't love. You love with conditions. And that's not love. That's control. That's manipulation. And so it's easy to say I love you. It's easy to say I like my work colleagues, but let them stop helping you. Do you still like them? Let them turn you down the one time you need their help. Do you still like them?
Wow.
And people can sense when you just about one thing. You about your money, you about your business, yeah, but are you about giving me service?
Yes.
So if you're not getting clients, can they see through the fact that they're just a dollar sign?
Right.
You know, are you willing to give them something for nothing? Are you willing to solve a need before you try to hit them up for the money? Are you willing to give them something for nothing? And I know we may not always be in a situation where you can give them something for nothing, but are you willing to listen to them, find out exactly what it is they want and need, find where you can provide value to them? Because if they don't see the value in talking to you, you can huff, puff, and blow the house down. They want nothing to do with you.
Right.
Because you about your own self, and you're not about them.
So the question is, what's wrong with expecting appreciation on a personal level? Is that bad in building a relationship, or?
It's not bad, but it's transactional. And a transactional relationship can only get but so far.
Oh.
Because the day that you don't give me what I expect, that's the day I'm going to start to reconsider that relationship. And think about this. What you expect is different based on your moods. It's different based on the day. It's different based on your feelings at that point in time. So is that fair to the other person? Now I'm going to put it even simpler. Love ain't really love. What is love? And we say that love is the feeling that two people have for each other. So what happens if you lose your memory? Are we still in a relationship? Do we still have something between us?
Right.
And so at the end of the day, love is a feeling that we conjure up in our head based on what people do. And is it fair to expect that from that individual all the time? Because at the end of the day, everybody has a bunch of problems they're trying to work through.
Right.
And so is it fair for me to be on your game 100% and I'm not on my game all the time? So I'm constantly taking from you. And the day you ask me for something, I'm like, yeah, I'm too busy. I'm this, I'm that, and the other. But then what happens if your partner is sick and they can't reciprocate what I need at that point in time? Do I stop loving them because I can't get anything back in return? And so relationships get real murky real fast when we do that transactional stuff. If I can't give you physical because I just had a car accident, if I lose a leg or arm, if I lose an eye, how transactional is it then? Am I still willing to give, and give you value? Not give you what I want, but give you what you need. Because everybody needs something from someone else. The key is being able, it's like an ATM. You put in more than you take out. So are we willing to do that? And to me, the biggest thing that determines that is the person you choose. You have to choose the right person, because in order to trust someone, you got to be willing to put it all on the table. So if you don't choose the right person, you can get hurt a lot. And that goes to the workplace too.
Yeah. And that's what people say. You know, you probably heard people, I love my job. You know, I really enjoy doing this. You know, this is what I always want to do until somebody get written up. And then, you know, you got to say, was this transactional in this working relationship that I was good until you call me out on something that I violated, or do I still love my job?
Well, let me tell you this. If the manager and the leader builds a relationship with the subordinate, even after they get written up, it's not punitive. And after you work through your feelings, you're like, yeah, you know, he called me out on my BS. He called me out on this. Yeah, you know, I was slacking that day. But a lot of times our managers and our leaders, they don't develop those relationships. So when they write you up, it creates a tension that can't be broken down because there's no connection there. So for the leaders that are listening and for the managers that are listening, your job is to practice emotional intelligence, which means I'm taking care of my emotions, but I'm looking at you, Johnny, to see how your day is going. So when you're having a conversation, I'm studying you to see if your day is going okay. Is there anything I can do to make your day go a little better? And if you're getting a little hyped up, I need to figure out what I need to do in order to bring your energy level down. And that means I need to know you and understand you to a certain extent. And that's where relationships come in. So I can't treat you the same way I treat the person in the cubicle next to you because their love language might be different. Their needs and wants might be different. And so when it's time for me to reprimand someone, if we have a relationship, I can pull you aside and say, hey, you know what? You kind of messed up with this today. And this isn't formal or nothing, but I just want to let you know I got to talk to you about it because it's hurting the company. But if I got hired and no managerial person or leader has ever spoken to me, and then all of a sudden I get to my cubicle and there's a pink slip or there's some type of reprimand, yeah, I'm not going to like the job anymore because nobody did anything for me. Nobody talked to me, made me feel like I was a valued customer and I'm valued employee or anything. But as soon and I work overtime, I did my eating lunches and everything, and then the one time I come in 5 minutes late, you got to slip there for me. So leaders and managers need relationships with their subordinates because there's a saying that goes like this: if you're leading and nobody's following, you just taking a stroll. Leaders aren't leaders if nobody's following. And if all you're doing is writing people up and be punitive, got you, you're not going to have anybody following you. And so when stuff hits the fan, ain't nobody want to come into work overtime because they don't like you.
Right.
So it's just as important in the workplace to have a good relationship, healthy relationship with employees and subordinates as it is outside socially and at home.
That is so important because we see in business sometime, most of the time we get to the job, we want to be accepted. But it's no relationship there because we don't know the boundaries. You got so many things right here. People say that can be harassing, that can be offensive, but I want to build a relationship with that person, even in sales. I'm in sales, so even in sales, people might say, oh man, he's strong arming me, to get something that I don't want to do. And I'm like, no, I'm just building a relationship with you. I'm telling you the rules so you can expect, and I'm setting the expectation. But some people said that they might feel that, hey, he's just a hard salesman. He's got to make this sale. He's not building relationships forward and stuff, because guess what? We all got to make a living, but at some point in time, if the relationship don't work, people say it just got to be business. How do we make that transition? If we try to develop and then we see it ain't working, and we know that this person's for example, qualified to get this mortgage, I just got to focus on the mortgage. I can't focus on nothing else.
And you know what? To me, it is a short-sighted way of looking at it, because at the end of the day, in sales, repeat customers is a big thing. In real estate, return customers is a big thing. Word of mouth goes further than any advertising you can ever do. And when people have, for example, I had a person that that closed a house for me, and they dropped the ball on one small part of the transaction, and it cost me $1,000. And all they said was sorry. Sorry, don't give me my $1,000 back. You messed up, but all you said was sorry. And so in the next couple of years, I'm going to be buying another house. He's not going to get my sale because he dropped the ball. Now, on the flip side, I had a guy who built a garage off of one of the houses that I had about 15 years ago. And he did such an awesome job. And he said to me up front, he gave me a boundary. He said, look, I may not be the cheapest out there, but my work is quality and I stand behind my work. And if anything goes wrong, I'll be there to take care of it. And do you know, one thing went wrong, he was there to fix it. And he went up and above the call of duty. And his job was totally awesome. 20 years later, my wife and I were still talking about, you know what, when we build our retirement home, we're gonna get him to build it. And it's been a whole 20 years. I don't even know if the man's still alive. But at the end of the day, he built a relationship with us that has endured 20 years to the point that I want to use him to build my next house. And so, look, as with the mechanic analogy, don't just try and get that one sale today. They have friends, and their friends have friends, and their friends' friends have friends. If we give them value, make them feel like they're important, then they might be willing to give us a name or another name, and we can build more business then. So yes, you got to put a little bit more time up front, even though you have to eat. But it might be a struggle to eat the first month. But month 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you can be eating like a king. Because you plan for the long term. A lot of times we just want to get that quota. We just want to get that one sale, and we forget that people have words. We forget the BBB, Better Business Bureau. We forget Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and people can drag us through the mud, and we can lose business because of one person with a large following. We're not looking at the big picture. Look at so at the end of the day, those relationships, we got to take the time to build it. People don't buy from you because they like you. They buy from you because you have something that they want, and they feel like they can trust you. And so, yeah, you might have something that they want, but something about the way Johnny talked to me just don't hit right. So I'm going to do old boy over there because he's nicer when he talked to me. I'm going to give my business to him because when I walk through the door, he didn't try to get my money. He tried to make me feel like a human. He didn't ask me for anything. He didn't try to sell me nothing. And so it's the common courtesies, is those things that start to build trust. And that trust allows people to free up other people in their lives to us. I know somebody who's real good as a realtor or as a financial advisor or as a real estate broker that will, help you find the house you want or help you more finance your house or whatever. I got somebody, he's awesome. That's what we want. We want to be in rooms that we don't have access to. And that's what those clients do for us. They go where we can't go. They say things that we can't say. And people trust them. So your name can be all through Delaware or wherever you're located because people give you access based on the relationship they make up in their mind about you. And that's why advertising is not as good as word of mouth.
Wow. And that's good stuff, folks. Y'all hear that here. Dr. Howel throwing some good nuggets out here. You see the phone number going across the screen. If y'all looking for some team building, y'all looking for developing that relationship in that workplace, if y'all deal with personal relationships, reach out 302-423-7913. Or even email him at Dr. Siegfried Howel at gmail.com so y'all can figure out what's going on. Because a lot of our things that we struggle with in business as well as personal going into business stem from relationships. How do we build these things? Is folks out there wondering, how do I expand my business? How do I go out there in this open room and build a relationship when I walk through that door and not seem like I'm cocky or arrogant in what I'm doing. Cause Dr. Howell, you probably know people can come to you and say, man, I've been at every event, I've been going out here, I've been shaking people's hands. I thought I was respectable. What's going on? I'm trying to build this relationship, but the people don't want to call me.
It might be your personality. You remember the training that I did with your group a few years back? We did the 4PT method, which is the personality, your priorities, your perspective, your positioning, and your transformation. And basically, we started with a personality test. You got to understand what you're working with. A lot of times we think it's not a level playing field. Everybody's not on the same level. Some people have the gift of gab a little better. You might have to work a little harder talking and communicating with others. Your specialty might be in finances. Somebody else's specialty might be talking. Somebody else's specialty might be presence. Somebody else's specialty might be able to let people feel warm when they come into the room. You got to know what your superpower is. Everybody has a superpower. You got to figure out what it is about your personality that draws people to you. But you also have to find out what it is about your personality that makes people want to shun you, because we all have a major flaw.
Right.
So we all have a special gift, a minimum of one special gift, but we all have a major flaw. So when people say, look, I just can't stand people coming to me stupid, that means you have a problem with keeping your emotions in check. I just can't stand people coming to me with stupid stuff. That means that you're short fused and you need to work on that, because sometimes the best customer might need a little bit more hand holding before they get their wallets out and give you their money. But if you're a no nonsense person, that may not be the client for you, because they need somebody they're a little scared to give up their money. They might be older. They might have gotten burnt before, and they just want to feel a little bit more comfortable before they open up. And if you're running around talking about, I don't have time with this foolishness right here, I've been talking for 30 minutes and he's so good. I got to go over this stuff 2-3 times. Okay. Don't you remember when you were in school and the teacher had to go over stuff over and over and over with you? It's easy for you, but it's not easy for them. Go over it with them, because you might get a client that will open up their phone books to a whole bunch of other clients. So your personality, what it is about your personality, your priorities. If you're all about the money and not about relationships, your priorities are off. And that might rub a lot of people the wrong way. So you have to figure out what career path or what type of people will mesh best with my personality. Because that old couple who is scared and they act a little slow may not be for you, because you don't have the patience for them. You might have to hand them off to that person with a little bit more patience and take a 10 or 20% kickback because you gave them a client. You understand what I'm saying? Value. You got to give value. You got to say, hey, this ain't the one for me, so I'm going to pass this off to you. Give me a little something.
Right.
Because think about it. How many times do we send people away because they're not for us, but we know somebody who they might have been good for?
Right.
But we don't have a relationship with them, so they didn't help us out a little. So we leave a lot of money on the table because we all about the money. We all about business. And then next thing, your perspective. What kind of perspective do you have? Are you emotional? Because if you're emotional, then everything comes at you a little different than everybody else. If you wound a little tight, then everything is a problem to you.
Right.
And so is that something that you have to work with? Because if you're trying to get people's money, but you're short fused, you're not going to make a lot of money easily. Right. You have to work 2, 3 times, 4 times as hard as somebody who's using using vinegar to catch flies, and you use honey to catch flies. So you have to think about that. What kind of perspective am I? Am I a positive person or a negative person? The first no I get, does that throw off the rest of my day? Can my client see when I'm upset because stuff is not going my way.
Mm-hmm.
So I make the room go weird.
Yeah. And you know, we in this thing. We said, man, if I give my client, they might not pay me and stuff. You know, I might not get none. And the mindset is that I still gotta make money to live.
You have to learn to let go and let the universe do its thing. If you pick the right people to align yourself with, then it shouldn't be an issue as to whether or not you're gonna get paid. If you took the time to vet the people around you before you let them in. Because at the end of the day, all I can control is myself. I can't control you. I can influence you if we have a relationship, but I sure can't control you. There are a lot of, even in slavery, it ran out eventually because people got tired of being kicked around and beat up and everything. You cannot control people forever because we weren't made to control people. We were made to influence people. The only person I can control is myself, and I have a hard time doing that. What about you?
Yeah, I do too. I do. I can't control.
Why am I trying to control you? Why am I trying to control you and I can't even control myself?
Right.
And then we trying to control the client, but you can't even control yourself. You can't even control how upset you get when you don't get me to do what you want. So now I see you for who you really are. You just nice because you asked for my money.
Right.
You know, and so I may not have the money today, but I might have it tomorrow. But because you were a little impatient with me, I'm gonna come back and go to the other dude because you weren't good enough. You know, I wasn't good enough to talk to and value because you knew you couldn't get a deal.
Right.
You know, so we have to look at that, you know, and you have to position yourself to be open up to criticism, to be opened up to advice, to be opened up to growth. You can't always have all the answers. So am I willing to take criticism from people that like me and the people who don't? Matter of fact, research has shown that it is better to get criticism from your enemy because your enemy don't have anything to lose. They're going to tell you the real who you are. Have you ever heard a bunch of girls talking and they're lifting each other up when they need to be telling each other the truth? Girl, you know you doing your thing and you know full well that you was wrong. And guys do it too.
Yeah.
Guys do it too. Guys be like, yo, dog, you did your thing. Hey, yo, he can do it. We do it to each other. We do it to our friends all the time because we don't want to hurt their feelings, but we hurt them long term because now they have an inflated idea of what they really are. Where your enemy is going to tell you, listen, you suck. You really need to go another route because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't work on them 5 things, don't come back here because you ain't ready. And your boy's gonna tell you one thing, your girl's gonna tell you another thing, but your enemy gonna lay it down the way it is.
Yeah, they're gonna get you gotta have the truth at some point in time.
Yeah,
you gotta have the honest to goodness truth in this and in business, you know. Sometimes people don't want to give us the truth, you know. Sometimes they want to see us just keep carrying on like that because they know we're losing instead of looking at a win for all situation here, you know. And I like to always encourage the folks, you know, if I need to change something, you know, tell me. I'm all right with that to hear it because guess what? I need to make that change so I can grow, and part of growing is building that relationship, and in that relationship, having an honest relationship. I mean, Dr. Howell, you know, you have a lot of people that said, yo, the people, they give me the truth, but we know, honest to goodness, they really don't, because guess what? You might not like them tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you might be like, I ain't never calling you again.
Yeah. Look, listen. at the end of the day, you want somebody who's going to give it to you real. Now, you may not want it at that point in time, but you have to be open to it. Think about the leader or the manager who says, yeah, you know, I have an open door policy. And as soon as you walk through that door and tell them about something that they don't like, and all of a sudden you getting a pink slip or you getting written up, you getting something, you know, like, I thought you had an open door policy, but I didn't know you gonna come at me with this foolishness. You know, leaders have to be careful as to what guidelines they tell people, because if you say open door policy, that means I should be able to come and talk to you about anything, even if it's about you. Mm-hmm. But am I going to be fighting for my life and fighting for my job if I tell you something about you that we all know it's true, but nobody else wants to step up and say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so as a leader and as a manager, are you willing to hear that hard truth from your subordinates? Because at the end of the day, if your subordinates don't like you and they what is that term where people quit? Was it quiet quitting?
Yeah.
quiet quitting, where people are just half doing their job until they find a better job. And so the company is actually suffering because the leadership caused people to quiet quit. So they come into work, they're doing just enough to keep you off their back, but the company's numbers are steadily going down.
Losing money, investing in these people, and don't have no value whatsoever for it out here.
Hold up. There's another part of it too. Price is law. Price is law says that if you have, let's say, 10 people in your company, the square root of 10, that's how many people are doing 50% of your sales.
Ooh.
And so at the end of the day, so look at it from this standpoint. If you have 100 people, 20% of those people are doing 50% of the sales. Mm-hmm. If you are a crappy manager or a crappy leader and the numbers of the company starts to go down, guess who are the first 20 to go? The people with options, the best people. And what happens in a lot of companies, we downsizing. Well, the good ones already jumping ship because they have a lot of options. Who's left? The other 50%.
Right.
Well, it's the 80% that's doing 50% of the work. Mm-hmm. So now the numbers are going to get worse in the company because all the good people are leaving. The people without options are still saying. So we cut again. And every time we cut, all the good ones are leaving. So now all we're left with are the horrible ones. So the company can never, ever recover from that. Once you see companies once people start hearing stuff like bankruptcy and stuff, the only people left are the ones that can't get a job somewhere else. So the company's already written off. And all the company had to do was to keep the top 20% happy, the top 20% comfortable. So if in the top 20% we had people who wanted to get a managerial job, give them the training. And a lot of companies, well, I'm not going to train him for him to up and leave. Yeah, but if you don't train him, he's going to leave anyway. So, but if you build a relationship with him, he's going to feel loyal and he's going to have loyalty to you. And when the company hits hard times, he's not going to be the first to bail. So you need to know, as a leader and a manager, you need to know the aspirations of your top tier people in the company so that you're giving them what they need so that they're not searching outside to see what they can get better. More money is not necessarily so important. Better. Because how many people make a lot of money but miserable? How many people make a lot of money but still jumping ship, still getting other jobs? How many people make a lot of money But as soon as somebody look at them the wrong way, I'm done. Because relationships matter. And so at the end of the day, I want to know if you have my best interest. And at the end of the day, I want to know that I'm valuable. And at the end of the day, I want to know that some of my wants and needs for my future life, you're willing to step in and provide those resources for me.
So that's so important and stuff, and we got to learn that in leadership, man. Dr. Howell, there's some heavy nuggets here that we learn in not only the business realm, but this is a question just to ponder on. I mean, do you think we struggle in our professional aspect because our personal relationships suffer as well, or what's your thoughts on that?
We're social beings, man, and if one part of our life is jacked up, it's gonna start spilling over into everything. If your finances are bad, your relationships are gonna start to have problems. Your friendships are gonna start to have problems. You're gonna start looking at people and start feeling envious about their lives, not knowing that the person who looks rich and look happy, they're one day away from driving their Ferrari into a lamppost. Like everybody has struggles, man. We cannot compare ourselves to other people. We have to compare ourselves to who we were yesterday, and just be better every day. If I compare myself to you, all we show each other is the good side. All we show each other is what's impressive. You're not going to tell me all the bad stuff that you think about when it's quiet and dark in your house.
Right.
But we all have those little demons that we got to work through. And some of us, the struggle is so real that we just don't know how we're going to make it tomorrow. And so at the end of the day, it is hard to separate personal, social, and business. And some people can do it for a minute, but then they turn to drugs. Some people do it for a minute, but then you find out that they got some deviant behaviors that people are like, oh, I didn't see that coming. And it's because people have three faces. Your first face is the public face. That's the one that we put on before we go outside every day. Yeah, let me get ready for this job. You know how this job is. Let me go ahead and get ready. We got the job face. And a lot of times we even go as far as having the job talk. We talk different at home than we do at the workplace. At the workplace, hello, good afternoon. Is everything okay? How can I help you? And I'm like, and so, we have different faces that we give to the world, and that's the public face. And then we have the private face. That's the one the family and the intimate people in our lives see. But then we have that face that we keep secretive. Those deviant thoughts that come into your mind, those bad things that you think about, the things that you sneak and do. That's the stuff that we keep to ourselves. And when those three faces don't align, we end up with problems. And so at the end of the day, any one of those things, your business, your personal or intimate or family, social, whatever, all part of our lives can mess up because one part is out of line. Because we are social beings, and at some point in time, we got to let it out. It's hard not to let it out when many parts of our lives just don't align, and you have that guilt in your head. You're like, man, I feel like I'm two-faced. I feel like this, that, and the other because I'm not being yourself. And then you got a partner that tells you, that ain't you.
Right.
So now you're feeling even worse about the situation because now they called you on your foolishness. And so now you're like, man, do I dump them or do I work through this? Because they're showing you the mirror, and now you gotta decide. If you don't like what you see in the mirror, you either gotta change or dump them. Because if they stay, they're gonna keep calling you out on it. And so a lot of times in relationships, people rather jet than to self-assess
Mm-hmm.
and to self-adjust or self-develop, whether it's at work, home, or out in the wherever it is. When the job gives you that write-up, are you willing to look at it and say, "Yeah, that was me. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't on my game that day." Are you willing to step up and admit, or are you gonna talk, or are you gonna quiet quit? Are you, are you gonna
Just walk around.
yourself? Yeah, there you go. Accountability. Are you gonna hold yourself accountable for your weaknesses? Are you gonna hold yourself accountable for your partner or for your clients? When your client needs a little bit more attention, are you gonna give them the attention, or are you gonna act like they should know it because you know it?
Mm-hmm.
You know everything people come at you with,
That's right. That's right. And that's so important. And I know Dr. Howell's got to run here in a minute and stuff, man. And we didn't get a chance. We definitely got to get him back, because we talking about relationships here. We talking about business, personal, which stems into that whole limelight. And we need to understand how we falling short, how we not achieving our goals. What do we have to do to reach that step? I want to keep y'all and let y'all know. Reach out to Dr. Howell, 302-423-7913. Hit him on email at drsiegfriedhowell@gmail.com. Dr. Howell, can you give us like 30 seconds of your last comments before I know you got to roll? And just let us know something we should work on, or some inspiration that we need to do.
Well, I have a presentation to do in 5 minutes, and this particular presentation, I'm going to talk about how do porcupines love. And the reason why that's important is we all prickly. We all have a lot of stuff we need to work on, man. But if we gonna love each other, we gotta maneuver through those quills, through those prickles, and we just gotta, be willing to accept the fact that we gonna get hurt at some point in time. But that's part of life. You got to choose people who don't hurt you deliberately and put them in your circle. But you won't get hurt. You just don't want to get hurt deliberately. But everybody gonna hurt you. You gonna hurt other people, and it may not be deliberate. It's just because you going through something, and everybody got to struggle. But we all porcupines, and at some point in time, we gonna hurt others, and others gonna hurt us. That's just part of life. We just got to work through it and build those relationships. But you got to find the right porcupine to hook up with, because otherwise you will have people hurt you for no reason.
Dr. Howell, man, we thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure here and stuff. And man, we enjoyed it. I mean, relationships is everything. We have to keep building on them and understand them, business, personal, or whatever. We must go forth. We must continue to do them. We must understand that they are the foundation of what we're doing today. Whether you're a W-2 employee, whether you're self-employed, whether you just working out here at a volunteer, nonprofit, the relationship you build today is what's going to take you over to the next step of the way.
Yes.
Forward, and what we got to do, man. This creative financing with JB, man, it was so enjoyable tonight. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you next Tuesday, same time, same station, 7 to 8. And guess what? I want us this week to focus on that relationship and make it intentional that we do better. Y'all have a good night. Peace.